pretend like we loved that intro music.
Wow, that was some funky upbeat stuff, right?
So what's going to be cool about this is that future Candler will put in this intro music that this Candler hasn't picked yet.
Correcto.
And I think it's going to be awesome.
And I'm going to approve that pick. It's going to be a nice fusion between what you love and what I love. But we should have intro music, and that'll be it's intro music that no one's heard yet. And so whatever you just heard,
so Brian,
we haven't heard it.
Brian, you're already saying you don't like the music I sent you. Is that what you're saying?
No. I'm saying you said you were going to pick it, and I think we should have a. Are we doing this the right way?
Are we arguing in front of our children again, Brian?
Always.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Candler Budd.
Brian Chapman.
This is not episode 1, but episode 0. We've been calling it Patient Zero, which is random and fun. But we're so excited to announce our new video podcast, Grab the Remote with Brian and Candler.
Also known as Brian and Candler talk about movies during the pandemic. Yes. That's what this is. It's something me and Candler have talked about for years. And this seemed like the fun time to do it. And we're really looking forward just to having fun. Something that has never been done before, talking about movies with your friends.
Yes, on the internet. Yes, exactly. And on a podcast. Absolutely. Now, the reason why it's called Brian and Candler, not Candler and Brian, because I think Brian and Candler sounds better for some reason.
I hadn't even thought about it. So that's something we haven't decided together, and that's okay too.
No, I asked my wife, what sounds better, Candler and Brian or Brian and Candler? She said Brian and Candler, and I agree.
Well, so that's fine with me, but I don't care either way. We could call it nothing and just talk and not record this, and I'd be thrilled.
Indeed. We're going to maybe talk about 3 movies each that we think might help our listeners and viewers get through the pandemic. And then if you're watching this a few months down the road when hopefully this pandemic is over, maybe this will get you through, I don't know, maybe a bad storm or a long weekend or something. What are something else that could be like a pandemic after the pandemic? You go through surgery. I don't know.
Certainly.
Something. Yeah, all kinds of things.
Or just wanting to sit passively and watch something and escape. We all love movies, right? Everybody has their movies. So if anything, it's just bringing awareness to titles that you may never heard before, or that you've heard before or seen, and that you might just want to revisit.
Sure. Well, Brian, I got 2 words for you. I have no idea what your list is going to be.
And I don't know your list.
But it's like, when you're giving a gift and you feel like the other person might have a better gift, so you want to you're scared to give your gift second. So I'm wondering if I should go first, because I feel like your list might be better.
My list is odd. And so you're saying you want me to go first?
No, I think I want to go first.
Perfect.
Just because I think your list is going to be better. But we will see.
No. But that's
all of these films, this is going to be totally random, these 3 that I've picked, but it's just films to sort of take you away to another place in time.
So you'll start with one, then I'll do one, and then.
Okay, we'll do that. Great. That's a little more diplomatic. All right. One is Wizard of Oz. Wizard of Oz is probably one of the greatest films of all time. I'm sure it's definitely in the top 5 of AFI, the American Film Institute. I'm sure on all the lists, it's definitely in the top 5. But it still holds up, even though it was made in 1939. You can watch it with your whole family. There's just a million stories about the film. Give it another try. Check out Wizard of Oz.
Very good. Victor Fleming directed that. He also directed Gone with the Wind in the same year.
Isn't that crazy?
Okay, so we're going old. I'm going to go to the 50s. This is when I discovered when I was just immersing myself decades ago. And I said, musicals? Oh, weird. Singing in the Rain, 1952.
Awesome.
Directed by Stanley Donen and Gene Kelly. I never thought I liked musicals. I love the music. It's just something that is so fun to watch. Like you talked about with Wizard of Oz on the list, it's on the lists of all these things. The best this, the best that.
Sure.
Gene Kelly's best. You have a very young Debbie Reynolds, Carrie Fisher's mom, one of her first roles. Donald O'Connor, Sid Charisse in a small role, Gene Hagen. All these wonderful actors and performers dancing, and just there's no movie that can be made like that ever again. And they've tried valiantly through the years. You know, of course, the musical kind of fell off in the late 50s. But I started, actually, the reason I got into these is because there was the video series That's Entertainment, and That's Entertainment 2, and That's
I remember
Entertainment
that.
3. We just would have little vignettes of old movies, and that was on VHS. And I was like, wow, there's so many weird and amazing things. And so I just tried what, you know, seemed to be the one that was on people's lips. And man, I love it. My kids love it. It's just so fun. Good Morning, Moses Supposes. I mean, there's every song, every dance number is phenomenal. So yeah, I mean, to me, if there's any little misstep or something that kind of maybe takes the viewer out, it's when they are reimagining the movie at the end, and there's this
I remember
big,
that.
like Broadway number, you know, like that's the kid trying to make it in, you know, in show business, but still so phenomenal. And you can tell Gene Kelly does everything and is so athletic.
He was athletic.
Yeah. It's one of those that if you go to the beach, that's if we do like beach movie night, right? And that's one of the ones that is always one to watch because everybody can watch it and enjoy it. I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but even if you're not a musical fan, like I think something's wrong with you if something about Singing in the Rain doesn't make you happy, because it's just one of those fun movies.
Definitely. That's what I remember about it. Well, I am definitely going to take you up on that one. So it's my turn again. Let's jump up to the 90s. I think Forrest Gump still holds up. It's one of those movies when it would come up on network television, I would or TNT or whatever, I would stop and watch it, even if it was the middle. I think it's very entertaining. I think there are a few parts that would be inappropriate if you have young kids, but for the most part, depending on how old your kids are, I think it's a really fun movie to watch with your family. It's funny. I remember the movie kind of got a bad rap, even though it won Best Picture, but it was kind of like, oh, it should have been Pulp Fiction back in that year, which was 94. And there was kind of some backlash towards it, but I think it's aged really well, and I think it's still really enjoyable. Have you seen Forrest Gump lately, Brian? I'm sure you've seen it at least once, but
yeah, not lately, but it is one that certainly during that time period, that was one that everybody bought right away. The soundtrack, that double disc soundtrack with
yes,
songs on it, the blue disc and the red disc was phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's been a while, but it works. It is magical. It's certainly a movie that is better than the book. I think it's Winston Broom. Is that right?
Yeah.
So they really, that's Zemeckis too. So Robert Zemeckis really can't be beat in terms of what he does as a director. And there's a lot of, the best moment. I mean, there's a million great moments. I will say this. When young Forrest breaks out of his leg braces when he's running.
Yes.
In the theater the first time, I remember thinking, this is phenomenal. I got that movie feeling. You know what I mean? The thing you get where they know they've done it, right? Like you're pulled in, and because you hate it for the poor little guys getting hit with rocks. I love that little moment, and from then on I was hooked. And of course the traveling through important times.
Yeah.
Through his life, which is so, it's a fairy tale really, but done well.
There's a scene in Washington, D.C., takes place in Washington, D.C., where I have the same reaction. It gives me chills. It's just there's one moment that's fantastic with Forrest and Jenny. It just gives me chills. It's just awesome. So, yeah, great one. You're up, Brian.
Hanks, right? You can't beat Hanks, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, I'm also stepping back into the 1990s.
Nice.
And again, I'm not putting like top, men love their list. I have a top 10. I have a top 50. None of these are really, I'm not putting these on my list, but this is a movie to me that for what we're in right now, like we're talking about pandemic list.
Yeah. I'm sorry to interrupt. Yes. This is not my top 3 films of all time. These are just three films that I'm thinking, oh yeah, totally. This might be a good one to kind of go back to.
This one's not in my top 10. It's probably in my top 50, but I love it. And it works for most everybody as well. 1991, What About Bob? Directed by the very talented actor, director, puppeteer, producer, Frank Oz. He's done so many wonderful things.
With Richard Dreyfuss.
Yeah, so you have Dreyfuss and you have Murray.
Yes.
And that's also interesting to hear about their off stations. They didn't like each other.
Right.
It was terrible to him. We know Dreyfuss from so many wonderful movies. And of course, Murray is has become this untouchable legend. Julie Haggerty, who will always be remembered from Airplane 1 and then Airplane and then Airplane 2, the sequel. And the kids are great. But to me, this is a movie about a terrible hypochondriac who's getting a new doctor. The doctor is Richard Dreyfuss. And that's Bill Murray, of course. So Bill Murray goes to see Dreyfuss, the doctor. He realizes that this is life-altering for him. But then his family, Dreyfuss's family, is going away for the weekend to Lake Winnipesaukee. Bob has to find out where they are because he needs him. And through his wiliness, Bob Wiley, he finds out. And then, of course, there's the story. This movie also is one of those where pretty much, except for like the Tourette's piece, it's everybody can watch it. And there's some really funny Bill Murray moments, Dreyfuss moments. They play off each other very well in terms of the foil. And what else about it? I mean, it's just, this is one of those things where sometimes I think about, what would be a good sequel? What about Bob would be a great sequel like right now? And here's the way I see it, Cameron. Dr. Marvin and his family, now it's Siggy and Anna have their family, and they're back up in Lake Winnipesaukee because of the pandemic. And that's where they're staying. The Gutmans, I don't know if they've long since passed, but the Gutmans who won the house. And then of course Bob and Lily, Dr. Marvin's sister, married at the end. So what happens there? How does, of course it's going to be not as good, but that's my, what about Bob 2?
Or what about Bob during the pandemic?
Yes, exactly. So that I thought about that, but everybody had to be, would have to really get on board. So it's really just a dream project.
I like it.
But that's a fun one to revisit. And we, it's just a sweet little movie, and
revisit. Yeah. Revisit is a good word because I think, and I don't think we said we were going to particularly pick films that we were going to revisit during the pandemic. We just said 3 films. And I think all of mine, I had revisit in mind. But if these are films that you have not seen, these are films that you've got family members that love these films and friends that love these films. So check it out. This last one, we're going to the 1980s, and it's such a random one. But I think, Brian, I have seen this movie more than I've seen Star Wars. So I think I like this movie a little bit. I can probably recite most of the movie. It has just made me laugh and laugh and laugh with my whole family, my parents, my brothers and sisters growing up. Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Yes.
It is Tim Burton's, I believe it's his first, or at least his first major release. I mean, Paul Rubens, Pee Wee Herman, and Tim Burton together. Tim Burton together is just phenomenal. This is pre-CGI. All the sets are practical. I mean, practical effects. It's just incredible. Fantastic characters that are unforgettable, and it's an adventure. It has heart. I mean, it's just amazing. Brian, how long has it been since you've seen Pee-wee's Big Adventure?
It's been several years.
I think you should watch it again.
But I'm a fan, and so let me tell you my Pee-wee's Big Adventure story. So I saw it in the theater, of course, and the best part, the part that all my friends talked about. Okay, we talked about a lot of the parts, but the funniest part, the one that we talked about over and over, was Large Marge, and so it's obviously Large Marge in the and again, spoilers, but yeah, if you haven't seen it, you got to see this. But so Pee-wee gets in with Large Marge, the trucker, and there's a mystery with Large Marge, but when she tells the story of the big wreck, she turns to Pee-wee and it's this like claymation gobbledygook face, and I mean, I lost it. My kid self just lost it, and that's all we talked about. I used
to pause it on the VCR. I would pause it and torture my younger brother and make him watch it when he was little.
So, the Large Marge when she turns
right.
her face all gobbledygook.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Phil Hartman, who was on the TV show, is in it in a small role as the reporter. There, the kid who. Well, heck, it's Lorraine Baines' brother in Back to the Future.
That's right.
He's the one who has the bike. And
the brother in the Wonder Years. And
the brother in Wonder Years. He's great. Yeah. Hervey, is that Jason Hervey? Maybe is that his name?
I think so.
Forgive me if that's wrong.
The late great Jan Hooks.
Yeah.
My name is Tana,
Yeah.
which
In the
is
Alamo.
which is she represents every female that I'm related to. Just so funny. I love a random thing I love about it is that because I saw this movie for the first time when I was in 6th grade.
85, right?
85. So there's a scene early on, or I guess I was in 5th grade. There's a scene early on where he goes to the bike shop and all the cool kids. I love it how the cool kids accept Pee Wee Herman as their own. That just made me laugh.
I love the BMX guys all have their little pads on.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, Pee Wee?
Let's have a cruise, dudes.
And I love that. And that's the best thing is that Pee Wee is a total oddball. That character, that creation is so strange, yet he is accepted and loved.
Yes.
You know, he goes to the magic shop. He's got, my good friend Pee Wee.
Hi, Mario. That's just awesome. So
and everybody has a Pee Wee. And I tell you, the show Pee Wee's Playhouse was fun.
Yeah.
You can find those, and they put a lot of work into those. And that's a good one, Caitlin. I like that we didn't talk about what our choices were. I like the surprises because if I haven't seen it, that'd be fun too. So nice.
Now let's give you sort of a quick preview on what's coming up in these future episodes. One,
I have my last one, by the way.
I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I think that when you said that, I thought, you know what? It's probably more exciting to talk about what's coming up. But let me do mine very quickly.
No, of course, please.
And this one's very weird, but it's going to tell you a little bit about me, maybe. And it is more so an example of as we go about our lives doing what we can do, and we just hope everybody is doing well and is doing as well as possible during this time, of course. And by no means is watching a movie going to help you do anything. But I'm a like people of my generation, nostalgia plays a big role. Maybe not looking back too much. I think a lot of times people look back too far and they kind of stay in that moment, and that can be unhealthy. But for me, here's the one I'm picking, and this is not a recommendation because nobody's going to want to watch this thing. But I want to explain it because it's not really it's barely a movie. So in the years 1986, 87, 88, I was a skateboard enthusiast. I loved skating. It came from Back to the Future. That's when there was a big boom. But in 85, when Back to the Future came out, I think a lot of kids bought skateboards. Yeah. I certainly bought a board, built a short ramp, had some friends who skated, and just did my best. And I really enjoyed that process. The bike shop was where I would have boards. I would order boards from. And so there's some great companies out there. And one of the companies was Powell Peralta. That's George Powell and Stacy Peralta, and they would put out videos that the bike shops and the skateboard shops would purchase and of course sell. And it was when everybody had a VCR. So I'm kind of telling the history of it, but the truth of the matter is they thought they would sell a small amount, and instead every kid bought these skate tapes, and it kind of taught them how to skate. Well, the one that really got me was from 1987. It's called The Search for Animal Chin. It stars 5 of the Bones Brigade. The one that most everybody would know is that's a young Tony Hawk. So Tony Hawk's a part of this, along with Lance Mountain, one of my personal skate heroes, Steve Caballero, Tommy Guerrero, Mike McGill, and a host of others, when they're just basically going through finding different skate spots and searching for this legendary skater, which is really a metaphor for making sure you have fun. Well, I wore that tape out with my friends. We loved it so much. It was a manifesto. It was just something that, and it's so, yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Because I'm unfamiliar with this.
I knew you would be. And
with this picture, with this talkie. What genre? Is this a documentary or is it?
It's a skate video. So it is corny and see, most skate videos are just one person's on the camera, on the board, following someone on another board as they're doing a trick, or they're following them on a ramp or a half pipe. And so this actually incorporated a story. That was one of the first times that happened. There's a lot of people that are hardcore skaters that don't love it. They think it's totally cheesy, even though the skaters are amazing. Anyway, this was something that for those few years I just loved, and we watched it, and I just took care of it. Actually, I have it right over here. I didn't even think about it. I could show you the copy. And I think I will. So I know it's an odd ending, but I want to say this. It's not that I want you to watch this, but it's something for me that takes me back when I was 13, 14, 15. And we all have those things that sometimes don't age so well, but I've watched it recently and it takes me back to those places. And it's all the little things that we remember about movies. It's the idea that we all have the lines we remember, the lines we sometimes maybe misquote, the text that we go back and forth with our friends that have nothing to do with anything, just random, just send something random to somebody. Anyway, it meant a lot to me. And I'm still, again, I'm middle-aged, right? But I still enjoy the skateboarding scene. And it's fun for me to roll around still. And that's hilarious because that's my midlife crisis. Like, but to me, that movie is maybe everybody's example, or it could be a thing when you were a kid that was totally yours for that time period. And then it just blipped out. Like I was done when I started driving and, kind of moving into high school. Like I got away from that and I regret that I forgot about it and it kind of reemerged years later. So that's my little weird one.
So tell me, because I'm not familiar with it, tell me again the title and where do you think we could find this film if we wanted to see it?
You could find it on YouTube, but it's called The Search for Animal Chin. This is the impromptu. I'm going to leave very quickly. I'm going to go get the box real quick.
All right. So as he's running up there's his hand. Look at his spacious basement. He's got a pool table. I'm here in my laundry room, but am I bitter? Absolutely.
Listen, I have a funny story. Here you go. The Search
for
Animal. So there's young Tony Hawk right there. These guys, by the way, are all in their 50s, and they've all done very well in terms of just not getting into the stuff that sometimes happens, like the sordid stuff. Pretty straight arrow guys, all still making a living skating in their 50s. And that's to me unbelievable. And again, it's not for everybody. It's not for anybody really. But the people who loved skating in the 80s, they probably heard of that. And this just, again, it's an odd choice, but I thought really what I would like to do is say, don't be afraid to find the stuff you liked when you were really little or when you were a teenager, because you forget about it. You know what I mean? It's so funny how we're so enamored by like our first toys or the cars we have. And then we become teenagers. Like you want to forget about what you were, like who you were as a kid. Cause you want to be a teenager now. And you're thinking about, all the things that, how, it's teenager stuff. You mentioned this pool table. Let me tell you something. There was this couple, they were moving to, I don't know where, it doesn't matter, Colorado. And they were trying to sell everything. So we put in an offer, which is the lowest offer of all time. And the man's like, no, absolutely not. We will not do that. And so we're like, all right, sorry, thanks, man. Take care. And I swear we get home and the phone rings and it's his wife. And she's like, we will take the offer. We're leaving for Colorado tomorrow. We cannot take this pool table with us. And it's like, so it's not like I'm showing that I'm Johnny Billiards or anything. It's just
I'm glad you have it. But Brian, that's the one of the first rules of negotiation. Be willing to walk away. And
totally.
You did it. And
that's why I let my wife, my genius wife, buy all our cars. And that sounds like I'm not emasculated in the least bit. They don't see her coming. I think a lot of times people underestimate when women come into car dealerships. I think she said that to me. So I'm not trying. And she annihilates people. And it's my favorite thing in the world.
That is awesome.
To watch us for us to go buy a car with her is the funniest thing in the world. Okay, so here we are. So I'm really looking forward to this with you, Candler.
I am too.
We've known each other. It feels like a billion years, but we've only seen each other a handful of times because of circumstances with living. But you're just one of my favorite people, and I'm looking forward to this. So, like I said, this is gonna be fun. And again, I hope that the people that know us, know you, or people that maybe discover this, like I said, it's not like this is a new thing, but I'm looking forward to it because it's an opportunity for us just to chat like we would on the telephone about movies.
Absolutely. I'm excited about it more than you know, brother. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. We've shot 10 or 11 episodes already. And we're going to revisit the Star Wars films, the good ones and the bad, and the really
Boy.
bad ones. We're going to revisit Back to the Future, although we haven't shot that one yet. We're going to revisit some war films.
Do a sports episode, but before that, we actually did an episode with the Rocky saga.
The Rocky saga. It was a lot of fun.
That was fun.
That is a really fantastic saga to check out. We're going to have a horror episode that we've already filmed.
We also did. We're going to be doing. We're going to try to find a better title, but guilty pleasures, movies that are bad that we actually like. And I don't know what Candler's list is, and that's going to be fun. Kind of just a movie.
I'm still working on my list. I just want to be able to say guilty pleasures like this. Guilty pleasures.
You did it.
I did it. Can you try to say it like I said it?
Oh gosh, guilty pleasures.
Guilty pleasures.
I wish I hadn't tried that. And
what?
That's your thing. We'll let it be your thing.
Well, Brian, out of all the podcast co-hosts I've ever had, you are definitely the first one, and you're the best one.
Thank you. I look forward to talking about intro music with you, and then ultimately agreeing on
the one that I picked. Yes, I'm glad you went on
your choice.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we will see you out there. And Brian, I'll talk to you soon, brother.
Take care.
We are out. Oh yeah.